Right, so this video pretty much shows you how to use a 24-hour plug-in timer, an everyday timer. It's a twin pack, so it basically just means that we've got two plug-in timers in the pack, okay? So I'm pretty much going to take one out of the package and then show you how to use it. And why do we need a plug-in timer? It's pretty much useful in a host of applications, you know. You can use it to regulate how a host or myriad of appliances turn on and off or switch on and off. Say for example, if you want your floor lamp to come on and off, you know, at a certain time automatically, you know, in the hallway, or you could use your floor lamp to illuminate or to light up your fish tank, okay? And that's because, say for aquarium lighting, around 8 to 10 hours of light per day is recommended for freshwater planted tanks. It is important to control the amount of light the tank receives. If too little is provided, the plant and corals may die, and if too much light is supplied, the aquarium could become overrun with algae. So usually, depending on the type of fish, 14 hours of light and 10 hours of dark should suffice. However, it is not a good idea to use the 24 hours plug-in timer to turn off your fish tank pump, because without it, they would perish. The pump essentially creates bubbles in the tanks, you know, it helps add oxygen to the water. But preferably, a good filter will circulate the water enough to provide all oxygen your fish requires. So basically, it's not a good idea to turn off your aquarium filter every night, as the filter plays a key role in the health of your tank. So shutting it down for long hours or protracted hours at a time can eventually lead to problems in your fish tank, or you know, the health of your plants, you know, and the fish in your tank, okay? But you know, it's pretty much fair game, you know, to regulate the amount of light that your fish tank you know, has or receives if you do not want to keep the light on in your fish tank for over 24 hours, okay? So prior to using a plug-in timer for any appliance, always make sure that, you know, it's fit for purpose and, you know, it's not detriment to what you're trying to achieve. So from here onwards, we're going to take out the plug-in timer, you know, now that we've defined its application. So from here onwards, we're going to insert the timer into the required socket outlet and then plug the appliance to be controlled into this timer. But right before we do that, it's important to check the rating of the plug-in timer just to be sure that we are not trying to blow up our appliance. And here is 250 volts or 240 volts, 50 hertz, which is the frequency, and you know, it's pretty much fine for the UK, and it complies to the British standard 5733, which is the general requirements for electrical accessories, so it is in compliance, okay? So if we take a closer look, I've got my thumb on the black segments. Where the black segments are pulled up, it means that the appliance that's plugged into the plug-in timer is off, and where we push it down, it actually means that, you know, the appliance, you know, comes on. Just make sure that after you're done, you know, selecting the black segment, that you do not forget to move the manual setting button to the timer setting. If you do not flick it to the timer setting, when the plug-in timer rotates, you know, during the day, it will not turn on and off. It will just remain on. So it's important that you flick the button to the timer setting. So the timer setting is at 300 hours and the manual setting has gone I enclosed in the circle as shown. Each segment or one black segment denotes or equates to 30 minutes. So one black segment is 30 minutes. And you know, as per the operating instructions, you know, you can set the black segment when you've got, you know, the plug-in timer in your mains wall socket. You know, but you know, for me, I think it's a lot better to set your black segment, you know, when the plug-in timer is not, you know, in your socket, you know, so that you don't overtask, you know, the circuit with instructions when it's plugged, you know, and you know, turned on in the socket. So the turn of the disc is unidirectional. It only allows rotation in one direction, okay? And you can see that the display on your disc, it's not like a conventional clock. You know, it's numbered 1 to 24, but in the opposite direction, in the anti-clockwise direction, okay? My pen is at 8 p.m. or 2000 hours, and between each hour, you've got three black segments. One black segment equates 30 minutes, so three black segments would be about 90 minutes, okay? So if I push the black segments between 2000 hours and 2400 hours, which is between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m., I will be asking the plugin timer to turn on between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. And when it's 12 p.m., it comes off, okay? And so between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m., I have pushed 8 segments down. And in 8 of the segments, one segment represents 30 minutes. So 30 minutes times the 8 segments will give you 240 minutes. And 240 minutes is 4 hours. And we all know that between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. is 4 hours. So that's how you sort of like make sense of the black segments that you've got there. Then the triangle that you see on the dial denotes the actual time of the day. So prior to setting, the black segment on the dial, just make sure that the arrow actually reaches the time of the day, and you can set the time of the day by rotating the dial clockwise in the direction of the curved arrow that you see on the dial. So here, pretty much the arrow is pointing at 10:30 a.m. and we're pretty much saying that we want, the plug-in timer to come on between 12 noon and 3 p.m. where we've got all the black segments and pressed down. And you can pretty much set other points on the dial. So say for instance, if I wanted the appliance to come on between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., I'll press the black segments down and hopefully the timer should come on between 4 to 6 a.m. as I've got, denoted here. And once you've selected your black segments, push the button down from manual to timer, okay? So let's test the hypothesis, regarding why we need to flick it from the manual to timer switch. Because if you don't, and it's, pretty much set to manual, the plug-in timer would not regulate or turn on and off. It's just pretty much going to stay on if it's in the manual position as of when you plugged it into the socket and you turn the dial. So I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So here we've selected the actual time of the day, which is 10:30. We've selected the black segments, which is good. But we've plugged the plug-in timer in and we haven't moved the manual setting to the timer setting, which is wrong. And why is it wrong? And that's because if the dial moves clockwise, it would not, regulate. It would not turn on and off, despite you selecting the black segment. So I'll show you the proper way to do it, okay? So here we're expecting it to come on between 4 to 6 a.m., 12 noon to 3 p.m., and from 8 p.m. to 12 midnight, okay? And the presumed time of the day in this instance is 7 p.m. So we're expecting the dial to rotate clockwise when we plug it in. And let's see what happens, okay? Assuming it's on the manual setting. And if we replicate a live scenario, the timer moves in a clockwise orientation. So if I manually turn the dial myself as opposed to waiting for the timer to automatically move itself, so I'll turn it in the clockwise orientation and see if the fast charger, which has a blue light, turns on and off, on the manual setting. Let's try that and see what happens. And as you can see, as I turn the dial, at no point does the plug-in timer regulate the fast charger. So the blue light is constantly on, which tells me that it's in the manual setting. I should have moved the button to the timer setting. Okay, but watch what happens as I flick the switch, to the timer setting. Let's see what happens. So I flick the switch to the timer setting. I'll begin to turn the dial in the clockwise orientation. So I would imitate, a live scenario where the timer turns or rotates clockwise, and you can see that the light on the fast charger begins to turn on and off as I spin it around. Okay, as I turn the timer when it comes to the off position. Okay. You can see that it actually turns off when it comes to the off position, but there is a time lag in how the LED shuts out, so it's not a very good or great device to demonstrate with. So subsequently, I will use a lamp to show you how it turns out, because a bulb switching off is more precise. Okay, so I will change the device from a fast charger to a lamp, and here we're pretty much saying we want it to come on between 4 to 6 a.m. We want it to bleep on at 3 p.m. and come on again at between 8 to 12 p.m. So the correct way to do it is whatever device you want to regulate on and off, make sure it's on when you set, the timer setting or the manual setting. So in this case, the lamp is on, but it is in the manual setting. And so I'll begin to dial, the dial, begin to turn it in the clockwise orientation. And every time it crosses the triangular arrow, you can see that it remains, the light doesn't turn on and off, and that's because it's in the manual setting, like I highlighted previously. Okay. And as soon as I move the switch to the timer setting, watch what happens. It begins to switch off, okay? And if I turn the dial, every time the hour of the timer crosses the arrow, in line with the black segments, you can see it's turned on, that, and that's because all of the black segments are pressed down. So if I move it to a section where the black segments are up and they're not pressed down, you will find out that, you know, it turns off, okay? And when it goes past the segments that are all the way up and it gets into the region where the black segments are down, it turns on. And now that we're in the segments where, you know, the black segments are up, it turns off again, and we're back into the press down segments, it turns on again. Okay. So like I said, it's best to select the segment when the plug-in timer is out of the socket, but you can play around with the dial and the manual and timer setting button, okay? And you know, every time the timer goes past the up or down segment, it turns on and off, so pretty sure you can work that out. So it pretty much comes on from 8 to 12, 4 to 6, and 12 to 3. And you know, any segments out of them times, you know, it turns off. Okay, so the press down segments represents on, the up segments where the black segments are not, you know, pressed down, represents the off position. So previously, like I said, to activate the timer function, ensure that the switch on the side is down where it indicates the timer function. And for a manual override, to disable the timer function, move the switch to the up position. Do not overload the timer. The maximum load it can handle is 13 amps and 3200 watts, okay? And so a quick recap, select the time of the day, which is about 6 p.m. Push down the black segments where you want it to come on. Set your button to manual, okay? And ensure your device is on. Plug it into the socket. Soon as it comes on, make sure that you do not forget to turn the timer button on. You know, flick the button to the timer setting. Otherwise, when you know the dial moves around, and each time it passed, you know, the triangular arrow, it would not turn off. Okay. And that's pretty much evident here. So I'll turn the dial and you can see the light isn't turning on and off, so you're just pretty much wasting your time. Okay, so push the button, you know, to the timer setting, and you should start to get the traction that you want. You know, as soon as, you know, the dial, you know, moves in the clockwise orientation past, you know, the time of the day, every time, you know it hits the black segment buttons that are turned down, it comes on. And when it goes out of that region, area, or segment, you know, it turns off, like as we've got here. So it's gone past 12 midnight, it's turned off, and as soon as we get to 4 a.m. it turns on. Okay, so that's pretty much it, really. So kitty click, barber click. So it's all about clicking and unclicking, you know, from setting regions or segments. Okay, so I pretty much recapped it a couple of times so that you get the hang of it. Now, if you found the information in this video useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You know, hopefully catch up with you soon as soon as I've got more upcoming videos. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Catch up with you later. Goodbye.